How do you feel? How do we feel, 12s? 4-2, going into the halfway point. How do you feel? How do you really feel? What's going on, Seahawk fans? This is Rob English, your Socal Seahawk, and thank you for joining me on another edition of Short Yardage. And today we're going to go through the Seahawks win over the New York Giants at the Giants, 24-7. And just talk about where we are as a team right now. Before we get going, I want to go ahead and do a quick shout out. Seattle Sports Union. Follow me, follow us at seattlesportsunion.com on the web, at Seattle Sports Union on Facebook, and at Seattle Sports U on Twitter. Everything Seattle Sports you can find on Seattle Sports Union. Remember to tune in to our live post-game show every Sunday at 8 p.m. Live post-game, Seahawks post-game show, I should say. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. Unless, of course, we play a night game, which in that case, the show is directly after the game. So check us out, tune in, subscribe, like, and stay tuned. But on to these Seahawks. The Seahawks took care of the New York Giants on Sunday at the Meadowlands, 24-7. And it was another, for me, it was another, again, it's the same thing all season long. A very, very, very slow out the gate. No running game to speak of. As a team, we rushed for over 100 yards, which was kind of nice, but no real main running threat. Lacey actually busted free for a couple of decent runs, which was nice to see. I did like one thing. The very first drive of the game was a high and then a low for me. I've been preaching for the last few weeks, on end, that we needed to spread it out a little bit more. Timing routes. Get the defense spread out, and then run your more of a finesse style offense, if you will. Not abandoning the run, but just using the pass to set the run up instead of the opposite, which is kind of what we do. Very first play from scrimmage, we lined up with 5 wide receivers, or empty backfield, with Thomas Rawls spread out to the left of Russell Wilson. I think he was on the inside slot. And before the snap, Rawls motioned in. Wilson was in the shotgun, so they motioned Rawls from the split end position and motioned him to the backfield with Russell Wilson, and they gave the ball to him, and he got a decent, I think it was maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 yards in the run. It was exactly the type of offense that I would like to see Seattle do more often. Now, we went and ended up going only a few yards down the field, and then Russell Wilson did a spinorama into a sack, and then, we gave the ball away. But there was a little bit of a light. I don't know if maybe Darrell Bevel and Pete Carroll were just trying something out, see if it will work for later or what, but that was what I like to see. Yet again, we go up against a team that we should be far better than. The New York Giants hadn't won a game yet until just the previous game, where they surprised the entire world, let alone the NFL, when they beat up on the Denver Broncos. No one saw that game coming. Just ask the Denver Broncos. No one saw that game coming. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, are these Giants, did they just figure something out? Or what? They have nobody. 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 They have nobody I mean, they have Eli Manning, but Eli Manning has nobody to throw the ball to. And their defense is an average defense. They have one weapon, the tight end, Evan Ingram. They have one weapon, and that one weapon for the Giants actually ended up gashing us a few times in the game, as if we didn't know that he was the only weapon that they had. But I'm not here to talk about the defense, because the defense is the only reason that at this point in the season that our Seattle Seahawks are more or less tied for first in the division. We've got the same amount of losses, one less win, but we played one less game, and we hold the tiebreaker over the Rams. So in a way, with the, you can kind of say it's a tie, even though technically it's not. But the defense is the only reason we are where we are. Seahawk football right now is the defense. We have an elite defense, to say the least, an elite defense that we are riding and depending on to set up favorable situations for our subpar offense to score just enough points to win games. That's what I would call Seahawk football right now. Granted, we hung a lot of points on the Indianapolis Colts, but big deal. They're the Colts. We beat the Giants by 3 scores, but big deal. It's the Giants. We have one considerable win this year. Just one. We have one considerable win, and that game is that win is against the Los Angeles Rams. And that is only because the Rams at that point looked like they were the most high-powered offense in football. And they have gone on to play good football since. So that win we can stick in our cap. We can hang our hat on that win as of now. But again, that's only because of the defense. The defense is the one who stopped Todd Gurley and stopped Jared Goff, and only just barely. But we did. And the offense again scored just enough points to get us the win. That's what we do. That's Seahawk football. The defense, we ride the defense with the expectation that they're going to, obviously stop the opposing team. And at the same time, hopefully put the offense into a favorable situation where they can score points easier than having to go 80 plus yards every time they get the ball. But hopefully an opportunistic turnover and things like that. Or just wearing down the opposing team's offense. But putting our defense puts our offense in, favorable situations just to score just enough points to win games. So the defense is the one winning the games for us, even though the offense is the one scoring the points. And the defense has scored a few points, even. But against New York, we went out there, we put up, it's really kind of skewed. Because you look at the numbers like, okay, we put up over 400 yards of offense, I believe for the second, maybe even the third time this year. 400 yards of offense. It's hard to shake a stick at, 400 yards of offense. A lot of teams aren't putting up 400 yards of offense, but what do we have to show for it? You put up 400 yards of offense against the New York Giants and you win 24-7. That game should have been 42-7. Not 24. The New York Giants had 48 yards of total offense at the half or something ridiculous like that. To our well over 100 and something. We well over doubled them up in total yardage at halftime. The New York Giants didn't even have half a football field of total yardage at the half. Yet we went in down 7-3 at halftime. Now, 21 unanswered points in the second half is a great way to answer that. But why do we keep having to start off the games so slow? Is it really that we just, we can't figure out how to beat these teams until the second half? Is it really taking us to the third quarter to figure out the formula to beat these teams like the Colts and the Giants? It can't be this difficult, right? It shouldn't be this difficult for us. So how do we feel? How do we feel right now, 12s, about the state of the Seahawks? How do you feel? Let's sort you guys out. Let's sort out the 12s here. Who are you? We talk a lot about fans sometimes and what kind of fan people are. And Seahawks get a lot of flack. The fans do because, the Seahawks are a team of recent success. So you get a lot of bandwagon fan talk. Most of it's just talk. I mean, I live in San Diego and I walk around with my Seahawks shirt or jersey on game days, and I get the question almost every single time, "Oh, how have you been a fan since 2012?" And then I'm more than happy when that happens to go ahead and educate people, school them up a little bit, let them know how, hey, I'm born and raised in Bremerton, Washington, and I had season tickets in the Kingdom for all of my childhood into my later childhood. I took the ferry across to the stadium to the Kingdom just to hike up to the 300 level and watch the Seahawks lose every Sunday. I've been there. I was there the whole time. Seahawks got them the best fan bases in football. But that's not what this is about. This is about, of those fans, who are you? Are you the extremist? Or are you the conservative? Are you the blind, even? So we have our Seahawks. They're sitting at 4-2. We're riding a 3-game winning streak. Riding a 3-game winning streak into the halfway point of the season. This is week 8 coming up. So we're riding a 3-game winning streak into the halfway point of the season. And despite what seems to be oftentimes where we can't get out of our own way, the end result with these wins gives off some sort of feeling of continuity, developing. And the reality, as we all know, and we're kind of all hanging our hats on this as well, is that Seattle is notorious. Seattle is notorious for starting slow during the season and right about now catching fire and becoming arguably the most dangerous team in football as we progress through the playoff push. Now, the extremists might say that given these facts, the Seahawks are sitting pretty and are likely to retake the division and go on into the playoffs and make a strong playoff run and probably play for a conference championship. That's what I believe the extremist feels right now. The conservative, however, may see it differently, and I'll say the conservative to be the realists of the group. The realists will recognize the truth that this Seattle team right now is nowhere near where it needs to be to compete for a title this year. Not right now. That doesn't mean to say that they can't get there within the next few weeks. But right now, they're nowhere near. And you have to accept that, Seahawk fans, right now, or you're setting yourself up for disappointment if it doesn't work. Because this team will not go to the NFC Championship game, let alone the Super Bowl. This team. Now, in 2 weeks, if this team is different, then we can have a different conversation. But this team right now is not going to the Super Bowl. This team may not get a home playoff game. I say that to suggest that we still will make the playoffs. But you have a team who can't get out of its own way more often than not. We gave up, I think, I can't remember what the total in penalties was against New York, but the whole season we've been just demolished by our own mistakes, penalties and stupid penalties, head case penalties, false starts, blocks in the back, things that are all avoidable. The whole defensive holding, I'm not going to get too angry about that, but false starts, offsides, personal fouls, we had a running into the kicker on Sunday against New York. Just the types of penalties that if you keep your head in the game, they don't happen. We got an offensive line that cannot protect the quarterback. We have no running game to speak of. We have a multi-million-dollar tight end who can't catch the football. And let me tell you about Jimmy Graham. Right now, in this very moment, I would trade Jimmy Graham for a late round draft pick, nothing else. I would trade Jimmy Graham for the Mr. Irrelevant pick in the draft. Just get him out of there. There's actually been some stuff on the interwebs about rumors about a Jimmy Graham trade. At this point, they've all been, said to be false, but they're out there. And I am all for it. I am all for it. Let it be known that this guy would love to see Jimmy Graham dealt off to anybody who will take him. The reality of it is we won't get much for Jimmy Graham. I don't believe. I believe that Jimmy Graham's stock has fallen since being a Seahawk quite a bit. Since he's been a Seahawk, all he's done is regress, statistically speaking. Statistically speaking, and get injured. That's it. By the stats, he's regressed quite a bit. He's only gotten half the targets that he got in New Orleans. Even with that, he's produced as far as yards are concerned. He's nowhere near his yard totals that he, had when he had Drew Brees throwing the ball to him. But his targets are half. Now, people will say that, Jimmy Graham doesn't fit. Nah, that's true. People say Seattle doesn't know how to use Jimmy Graham, and that's not the case. Jimmy Graham knew what he was getting himself into when he came to Seattle. He was told he was going to be expected to block. He's just not good at it. And then when he goes out to catch passes, he's dropping too many of them. Jimmy Graham dropped 2 balls on Sunday against the Giants that I cannot believe he dropped. The play-by-play announcers on TV wanted to blame Russell Wilson for the fade route that he dropped because Russell Wilson didn't throw it high. Well, that's true. Russell Wilson didn't throw the football high. He threw it mid-level. He threw it so mid-level that it hit Jimmy Graham in his stomach, directly in the stomach. How can you be a football player whose job it is to catch footballs and have a ball hit you in the stomach and you not catch it? It wasn't like it was J.J. Watt out there trying to play tight end and it hit him in the stomach and fell. That'd be understandable. It wasn't like it was one of those gadget plays. It was a fade route, the type of play that a player like Jimmy Graham should have in his repertoire. And if he's able to get his hands on the ball, it's supposed to be a catch. Relatively high percentage. That ball hit him right in his gut, and he dropped it. And then later on in the game, we had an opportunity to redeem himself. Russell found him on the left side of the field all by himself. If I remember correctly, if I just think back, and I'm thinking, and I can't say that I remember 110%, but I'm thinking back to that play. I don't believe there was even a New York Giant in the shot. You know, from the broadcast camera that panned back when Russell Wilson dropped back and threw that ball to Jimmy Graham, as Jimmy Graham had that ball hit him right in his hands and then let it fall to the turf. I don't believe there was even a Giant in the shot. Jimmy Graham could have still been running right now if he would have caught that ball if he wanted to. Dropped it. Now, the extremist might go off and say, well, but Jimmy Graham, when he went out and made a couple of great catches later on after that. You know, he cut touchdown pass. Great. He made one amazing catch down the middle of the field. I believe it was sometime in the fourth quarter. You know, the kind of catch that if he would have dropped it, no big deal. Because I believe it was in between two Giant defenders. That would suggest their size. The team they play for, not their size. But it was an amazing play that you might expect a player like Jimmy Graham to make. But they're not so amazing, at least not to me, when he can't catch the easy ones. I don't care how many amazing catches Jimmy Graham comes up with. If he drops the easy stuff, it's not worth it. Not to me. Give me Luke Wilson, who may or may not ever make an amazing catch. But Luke Wilson will catch the ball when he's wide open. And that's even considering the fact that Luke Wilson has had drop problems. But geez, if we're going to have drop problems, let's at least have it be a player like Luke Wilson. I'd rather have the same hands issues with Luke Wilson. Don't give me an elite player who's supposed to be one of the best, if not the best, at his position, and then have these, average player problems. I don't want my elite player having average player problems. Just give me the average player. Nick Vanette went out there and made an amazing catch. The ball was low. He had his arms fully extended, caught the ball in his hand, and ran up the field for a few yards on Sunday. I saw him do that. I'm like, there, Jimmy, that's how you catch a football. And don't even get me started on the red zone offense. It's already well known how poor we are in the red zone this season, but that game against New York, I believe, and y'all know exactly which series I'm talking about, which sequence I'm talking about. I counted, and I rewatched the game on NFL Sunday Ticket. I rewatched it, and I counted, if I'm remembering this correctly, once we got to the 10-yard line is what I started counting. And I counted, I believe it was 11 plays from at or inside the 10-yard line. A total of 11 plays, and I believe it was either 6 or 7 of them were inside the 5. This is the very exchange where, one fade went to Jimmy Graham incomplete, one, over the top of him, and the other fade went to Jimmy Graham, hit him in the gut. How do you have 11 tries from inside the 10. And I'm telling you, it was 11. 11 plays inside or at or inside the 10, and you can't get in the end zone. And let alone that, forget about that, because we got brave and decided to go for it on 4th down and didn't even get that. So we got 0 points off of 11 tries from inside the 10-yard line. You be an extremist if you want to, but this football team has no chance. Not right now. This Seahawk team has a lot of work to do. Stay conservative, people. Stay conservative. Don't get all high on these wins. I've got plenty of people out there. I see them getting all high on the Colts win. They were high on the 49ers win. They were high on this Giants win. Because we were able to put up, every time we put up more than 20 points, Seahawk fans, extremists, get all in a tizzy. We have one good win this year. Just one. And that's it. And we've got some serious games coming up. We've got the Texans coming up on Sunday. They've got a young quarterback who's been doing great things. We got the Redskins. We got the Cardinals. We've got the Falcons. We've got the Niners. We got the Eagles. Eagles might be the best team in football. Talk about a statement game. The Redskins. Statement game. I tell you what, if you want to talk about fortune, this Seahawk team is fortunate that we get both the Redskins and the Eagles in Seattle. And the Falcons. Pardon me, the Falcons, the Redskins, the Falcons, and the Eagles, we all get them at the clink. We get all of them at the clink. If that's not good fortune, I don't know what is. Because those 3 games, I'm telling you right now, 12s, those 3 games are make or break your season games right there. Redskins, Falcons, Eagles. So let's talk about this Houston Texans team. They're not doing a whole lot through the passing game, but their running game is certainly, making the money for this team. Lamar Miller, Dante Freeman, and the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, the 3 of them together, over 700 yards rushing. So they are putting their mark on the league right now. They're coming into this game 3-3, and they're looking to, move forward. This game is not going to be easy for the Seattle Seahawks. Another fortunate game at home. I think that these games that I've just mentioned, including this Houston game, really, we lucked out by these games being played in Seattle. Any one of these games being played on the road, you can probably count them as an L. But we have them at the clink. And it doesn't matter since, how far do you have to go back? We don't lose at home. We simply don't lose at home, and only rarely, every once in a blue moon, somebody gets us. Dallas got us. Arizona got us. But we're not going to lose at home. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we do in this game. Hopefully Doug Baldwin uses some of that anger that he had on Sunday when we pushed Tom Cable. And let's not get too upset about the Doug Baldwin thing. Doug Baldwin here's what I saw. I saw a quarterback or a wide receiver and a quarterback having a conversation, for lack of better words. Or I saw a wide receiver trying to have a conversation with his quarterback. And it might have been heated. It might have been loud. It might have been boisterous. It might have been all those things that, that seem to be, uh-oh. And I saw what I saw, and I could be wrong, but here's what I think I saw. I think I saw Tom Cable trying to come over there and intervene, split them up or do whatever, coaches are supposed to do and players get in each other's faces. And I saw Doug Baldwin say, move. We're talking. That's what I saw. I don't think Russell Wilson had a problem. I don't think Doug Baldwin had a problem. Doug Baldwin was passionate. He was telling these guys, look, we're better than this. He had to be saying, look at all these yards we got. How do we only have so many points? I'd be feeling the same way. So Doug Baldwin, people stop on the message boards. There's nothing wrong with Doug Baldwin. There's nothing wrong on the Seahawks sideline. That's what you want. That's what Pete Carroll wants. This is what we want. We need this passion. We need this drive. This is what's going to get us to be scoring enough points to beat these teams in these upcoming weeks. This is what gives us this mid-late season push that we are waiting for. Lastly, we went ahead and signed Dwight Freeney. Dwight Freeney, the one-time very feared defensive end. He was a Indianapolis Colt, and then he was where else did he go? He was a Colt. I know he ended with the Falcons. But Dwight Freeney is a Seattle Seahawk. Signed him to a 1-year deal. And, with Cliff Avril being out, looks like he's probably out the rest of the season. Hopefully Freeney can come in there and got enough in the tank to just come in on that rotation and do some great things for us. I think it's a great pickup. Wouldn't have mind seeing a great offensive lineman get picked up, but maybe there isn't any in the pot. But Freeney, hey, we need it. We need to get some more pressure on quarterbacks. The more pressure on quarterbacks we get, the better our secondary is going to play. It could be a good thing. Again, it's the defense is going to take us home. The defense is going to take us home. So I get why you go out and get Dwight Freeney. If we can get through the rest of this season, relatively injury free, and this offense just figures out how to get a touchdown in the first half of the game, I think we'll be okay. I think the secret, put it like this, with the exception of a couple games this season, the rest of the season, if we get out there and we score first, if Seattle puts up 14 points in the first half, I think we don't lose. I could say that right now. I would put money, and not a whole lot of money because I don't have it. I don't have a whole lot of money. But I would put some money. I'd put some money on the table, and I would say, I'll bet you this much money that if Seattle goes out there and scores 14 points in every single first half of every single game the rest of this season, we'll go undefeated the rest of the year. I would say that. Tell me I'm wrong. If we scored 14 points in the first half of every game for the rest of this season, I'm telling you, I guarantee you we would go undefeated the rest of the year. You give the defense that kind of opportunity, if you go up 2 scores early in a game like that, and you play the kind of defense that we've been playing, have a team down a score or 2 as the game progresses. Do you know how opportunistic the Seattle Seahawks defense is? We would be killing them. We were able to do that in past years. Going down and scoring first. It was making the job of our defense so much easier. Now, our defense's job is so hard because we're not scoring first. We're scoring very, very late. We're scoring last. It's hard to play defense like that. It's hard to play defense when you've been on the field over 60% of the game. It's hard to play defense when you are just having the ball run down your throat all game long because the opposing team doesn't really have to throw it. And when you run the ball like that, you buy it on play actions. You have to load the box. You softens up the secondary. It's just, it's simple, really. We have to start scoring early. I'll say it again. I'll say this. In any game the rest of this season that our Seahawks manage to score 14 points in the first half, I guarantee you victory. And if I'm wrong, I will come on here and I will eat crow for everyone who listens. But that's it. That's my take here. If we score in any game the rest of this season, it may not even happen because, it doesn't happen for us. But in any game the rest of this year, if we score 14 in the first half, I guarantee you victory. Mark it down. All right, 12s. I've rambled on enough. We got the Houstons on Sunday afternoon at the Clink. Let's see if we can get this winning streak to 4. And then we get to take on the Washington Redskins. This is Rob English, your Socal Seahawk, signing off. Go Hawks.